We have apologies from Michael Brown's on holiday. And can we approve the minutes of the meeting on the 19th of July?
Love the minutes.
Thank you. The only announcement to make is that listening to the news this morning about grim reading, or grim hearing, with what's going on with the government and the funding, the criminal crisis with the bank today. I'm sure Neil will be up to speak with that, but it's not looking good at all. They were talking about having to make cuts in public services, as if we aren't having to make enough, though it's quite a serious situation, and I think something needs to be sorted out as quickly as possible, possibly a new government. Anyway, I'll move on. With no urgent items, can I draw your attention to item 5, exclusion of press and public, if we need to, and can I draw members' declaration of interest on item 6. Okay, key decisions. Allocation of household support funds.
Yeah, thank you. This report here today is to inform Cabinet about the third round of funding that's been received, 3.125 million, and to approve the distribution of that funding. 3.2 shows the eligibility criteria for claiming or for sending the fund. Under 4.2, it does outline how we propose to actually distribute the funding. Households without children, with children, 9,000 families will be affected. 10,000 pensioners will receive funding. 7,000 people with a disability on disability benefit will receive funding. There's funding being allocated to the energy debt team, which I think is crucial at the moment, particularly as we head into winter. We've put some funding into the local welfare provision, and that's to try and capture those residents who have not received any means-tested benefit, but yet are on the cusp, and they will be referred via the trusted referrers, which are the hubs, Citizens Advice, WTH, etc., etc. Finally, £50,000 will be allocated to the food aid network. We do see an upsurge in January of people using food banks, so we feel that we need to have some funding to actually put some food into those food banks, because I think, as we all know, prices are going up, everything's going up, supermarkets are buying less, there is less waste, so less waste going to our food banks. So we've allocated £50,000 to the food aid network. And can I just draw members' attention to agenda page 12, 4.7, the administration costs. The council will not be taking any of this funding for administrative costs. We'll absorb that in-house. So the whole of the 3.125 million is going for the benefit of the residents of this district, and I'm asking for approval.
Well, I think we certainly want to approve that, Maureen. It sounds amazing. Amazing what this report is, what you're doing. Any comments, anyone?
Can I just thank Melissa Malaby and her team as well for putting this together? It's an excellent paper.
Yeah, excellent officers. They've really done well with it. Anybody want to comment on it? I'm sure we're all pleased with it. Jack?
Yeah, very happy to support this. It's an amazing package of support that really targets some of the key areas where people are going to be feeling the squeeze. I think it's just a shame we've not got more from government. So just to thank you, Maureen, and officers as well, particularly for taking the admin costs, so we've been able to maximise the amount of support we can provide, but very happy to support this.
Thank you. Malcolm?
Yeah, well, Maureen, I think they're doing a wonderful job. It's just a shame, isn't it, that we're having to do this. Yeah. You know, in the country as we are, and we're in this situation where people are in this sort of situation. But yes, I just support.
Thank you. Okay. Can we agree with the recommendation? Strategic acquisition, Darren.
Thank you, Rita. In introducing this report, I would like to give the following comments to give context to the importance of this decision, as well as some reassurance that there has been careful consideration to the views of stakeholders. The Council is required to plan and make provision for the accommodation needs of gypsy and travellers under the housing and planning legislation and guidance. The specific requirements are set out in the Housing Act 1985, the National Planning Policy Framework and Planning Policy for Traveller Sites 2015. The option to do nothing is not an option if we are to meet the needs of this community as identified to date, as well as to discharge and to meet our requirements under the aforementioned Acts. The Council carried out an assessment of the needs of gypsies and travellers accommodation in 2018 to ensure that it was continuing to meet its obligations. In addition, the needs assessments has informed the Council's local plan. Failure to be able to demonstrate provision is made to meet these accommodation needs in the emerging local plan. Risks the plan being found unsound during the forthcoming independent examination process if the Council does not maintain an up-to-date, sound and adopted local plan. Then this is further at risk, and paragraph 11D of the National Planning Policy Framework would be triggered. This would reduce the ability of the Council to plan and to guide developments and likely result in traveller accommodation being located in less suitable or appropriate locations. Over the last few years, a number of options have been considered in order to ensure that the Council meets its obligations in providing accommodation pitches for the gypsy and traveller community. However, many of these options were discounted due to the ownership of land, infrastructure costs, locations and connectivity with the existing site of Heath Common in terms of ensuring that the families and communities' proximity could be retained. This was further debated as part of the Cabinet report which was approved in 2021 for the land adjacent to the existing site to be developed to meet the needs of the travelling community. And this is set out in more detail within the Cabinet report. The Cabinet report also made reference to carrying out engagement and a range of ecological and biodiversity studies, which will form part of the wider planning process. Turning to this particular decision, which is to purchase the site to facilitate the delivery of the overall site, the report comes back to Cabinet to inform us of the calling of our previous decision made in July and the reasons why scrutiny have asked us to look at this again. Cabinet originally approved the recommendation that we purchase the old golf house to facilitate the delivery of the site at Heath Common, a location which was already agreed in January 2021. The original report which sets out the reasons for the recommendation is appended to this report. It will deliver on our legal requirements to provide sufficient sites, help with unauthorised encampments and facilitate adoption of the local plan currently being examined. The decision was called in due to concerns about insufficient consultation and potential discrimination. A full discussion took place at scrutiny, who decided to refer the matter back for reconsideration. The reasons for this referral are set out in the appendix to the report and are responded to in paragraph 4. These are predominantly around consultation or the alleged lack of it. External legal advice has been sought by our monitoring officer. Having considered that advice, she confirms that no consultation was required for the specific decision and due regard is given to the report of the Public Sector Equality Duty. The property is proposed to be acquired under the Local Government Act 1972. No specific requirements arise to consult to this Act. It is not common practice to consult on property acquisitions. Doing so would prejudice our ability to operate in the property market, making us a much less attractive buyer. As due regard is given to the equality duties, especially as this is a decision to purchase property and not the decision to locate the site here or to grant planning permission, the decision would be a lawful exercise of powers. So for all the reasons set out in the report, the recommendation is that Cabinet reaffirms the decision made. And with that, Leader, I would like to move this report.
Thank you very much, Darren. Any comments? Okay, can we agree the recommendation set out in 2.1?
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren. And then the item 9 is the sustainability of the step-up programme.
Thank you, Leader. This is a lot shorter. This is to seek Cabinet approval for Council revenue funding for the Step Up and Employment and Skills programme to bridge the gap between the current funding, which is from the European Social Fund, which ends in December of this year, and the start of the new granting stream, which starts in April 2023. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval for delegated authority to begin to the Corporate Director for Regeneration and Economic Growth, in consultation with the Chief Finance Officer and the portfolio holder, and to accept new grant funding awarded by the West Yorkshire Combined Authority as a result of the successful business case Tubica's Employment and Skills Gain Share funding, and agree the terms of the grant funding agreement with WICA to facilitate the delivery of the programme. Option 1, which is shown on page 49 from sections 411 to 413, asks for Cabinet approval to fund the bridge gap of £168,000 between January 2023 and the 31st of March 2023. This will then allow the Step-Up programme and its associated programmes to continue until the new funding comes on stream. And with that, I move this report, and just saying passive, this is a much needed programme that we deliver in this district, and it will become more important and continue to do so as the years progress.
Certainly will. Any comments, Maureen?
Yeah, totally support this and the recommendation. It's something that was set up a couple of years ago, and it gives people that help and support, and we know, I know one or two people who've gone through the Step Up programme, and it's really changed their lives. But it isn't just about people stepping up to be you know, the best that they can. It's about people knowing that it's there to help support them. I've got a 17-year-old currently in my own ward who I've just referred into Step Up, and he feels so much happier that he's now being supported. So it is much needed funds, and I fully support it.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Darren. Can we agree the recommendation? Agree. Item 10 is the infrastructure levy fund. The purpose of the report is to inform Cabinet how much money has been raised from the community infrastructure levy in the reported financial year and how it has been spent. We're requesting Cabinet to approve the strategic recommendations to the Community Infrastructure Levy for 2022 and inform Cabinet of the position with Section 106 planning obligations. The recommendations are that we approve the strategic spending for the community infrastructure for 2022 of £500,000 towards the Broad Lane Improvement Scheme in the Emerging Local Plan and £400,000 towards the Local Area Improvement Package for Hemsworth in association with the housing development of land at Highfield Road in the Emerging Plan. And then the final recommendation is to agree the funding, the published funding for the period of April 21 to March 2022. Can we agree with that? Okay, thank you. And then Darren, you're on again, strategic framework for Castleford.
Thank you. So this is to secure Cabinet approval for the adoption of the Strategic Regeneration Framework, or the SRF, for Castleford. To approve the new SRF and note the material, to approve the new SRF and to note that as a material planning consideration, it will help shape the development and the future regeneration of Castleford Town Centre over the next 10 to 20 years. As detailed in paragraph 4.1, the SRF outlines an ambitious process by which Castleford Town Centre might change over the next 10 to 20 years. It begins this process by providing an outline of Castleford today and considering its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats that the town faces. Planning context is considered, as is feedback from public consultation, before a bold vision and underpinning principles of how this outlines how the council will rediscover Castleford as a distinctive riverside market town within the wider Wakefield district. The proposals outlined in paragraph 4.5 on page 158 show a range of interventions intended to deliver against the framework and the vision. And in brief, these are: Castleford Riverside, to create access to the river and make the most of this great natural asset. An area of town to be known as Castleford Boho, and this will show enhancements on Sabre Street as they link between the riverside and the town centre. The heart of Castleford. This proposal aims to make Henry Moore Square the heart, the true heart of Castleford Town Centre. Castleford Connections, a catch-all proposal dealing with the needs to improve the connectivity between the main focal points across the town centre. Urban greening, the framework makes clear the need for Castleford to be environmentally conscious. And finally, high-quality urban living. The final proposal attempts to directly address the changing way in which we are interacting with our town centres. Set out in option 1, paragraph 5 on page 159, I ask that Cabinet approve the adoption of the Strategic Regeneration Framework for Castleford. Adoption of this document as a material planning consideration document will help guide the future regeneration and development of Castleford, enabling strategic delivery across the town centre, of course subject to consultation and overall affordability. And with that, Leader, I would like to move the report.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think it's important to stress that there needs to be further consultation, and with the financial climate being as it is, we do need to look at other further consideration. But obviously we welcome the funding that we're getting, but we have to cut our costs and deal with it in an appropriate manner. So thank you for raising that. Anyone else got any questions? Matthew, do you want to say anything? No. Thought with you being a Catholic, you might have anything to do with it.
No.
Okay, fine. Okay, so can we agree the report? Okay, thank you very much. And then the strategic corporate asset plan, very busy today.
So the purpose of this detailed and well thought out plan is to seek approval for the revised strategic corporate asset management plan, affectionately referred to as SCAMP, and follow on from the previous cabinet updates on the SCAMP. It is worth remembering that the council holds over 1,600 assets, comprising of over 8,690 acres of a diverse range of properties, including allotments, car parks, agricultural buildings, ground leases and cemeteries. The report is divided into 3 programmes, which can be found on page 306 in paragraph 3.2 of the report. Aligned to this, the SCAMP therefore allows the council to have a clear plan that ensures, as detailed in paragraph 3.4 of the plan, that the council has assets that are fit for purpose, in locations that support the delivery of excellent services for the citizens and residents of Wakefield. The council has a portfolio that represents good value for money by ensuring opportunities are identified for financial efficiencies. The portfolio is able to drive additional and more sustainable revenues from council's existing non-operational sites, and where possible, the council uses its property estate to improve the working with key partners across the district to deliver a one Wakefield estate, bringing together one-stop shop services. The council assets are aligned to the delivery of the council's corporate plan and recent changes to the organisation's culture, and the council's commitment to be carbon neutral as an authority by 2030 is also supported. Opportunities in the plan are identified for the council to use its assets in an innovative, that's a word I can never say and I apologise, in an innovative way to stimulate regeneration and economic growth across the district. So set out in option 1 in paragraph 4.1 on page 308, I ask that Cabinet approves the report and implementation of the action plan with the core assets workstream project board in conjunction with the existing governance of the strategic asset management group. And with that, Leader, I would like to move the report.
Okay, thank you for that.
Excellent, yeah, thank you, Darren. I think it's an excellent report, and it's interesting, especially from my climate perspective, that up to a third of the council's total emissions could be saved by some measures in this report. So that's really welcome and set a good example for the wider district. I think we need a document like this. It's absolutely essential that we have something to identify what property the council needs long term. We know we're in a very difficult financial position, and difficult decisions will probably have to be made about council estate in the coming years. So it's good that we have this guide to refer to when we're making those challenging decisions. So thank you for reading the report.
And it is also important to note that this is put together by some very hard-working council officers within the corporate landlord team who monitor this on an extremely regular basis, and through their hard-working division give us the position that we need now.
I think that needs to be brought. If you mentioned that round, we really appreciate all the work they're doing, because a lot of it is going to be down to them now. with everything that we're looking at.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. Can we agree the report? Okay, thank you. And then item 13 is the financial health report. The recommendations are set out at 2.1 to 2.4. Can we agree that?
Agreed.
Agreed.
And item 14 is the medium-term financial strategy, set out clearly for you to see, and the recommendations are in 2.1 to 2.3. Can we agree with that? And then item 15 is the corporate plan. I think we're all going to say a few words about this, but in February 2022 we published our corporate plan, and I'm so pleased to show the progress update on this. The plan set out our priorities and objectives up to 2024 and the actions we're taking forward to make a real and positive change for our district and local people. The update sets out the progress that have been made against our 5 strategic priorities, 15 outcomes and 132 initiatives in the last 6 months. Between February and July, 109 initiatives had started and were on track, 8 have been completed, 13 initiatives have some risk delay to deliver against the deadline, and 2 are not yet scheduled to start until the second reporting period, which will come to Cabinet in March 2023. I think it's important to recognise that these are extraordinary times, both globally and nationally, and the unprecedented cost of living challenge may impact on our ambitions to deliver the 132 initiatives. The progress report highlights those initiatives where there is a risk or delay to delivering against the completion date and the mitigating actions that have been taken. We will continue to review the situation to ensure that we manage our finances and resources effectively, and where appropriate reschedule or amend ongoing and planned activities. We will also continue to monitor the response of government to the cost of living crisis, lobbying hard for both further funding and greater action to help people across our district. The progress we've made is a real tribute to the hard work of elected members and particularly council staff, particularly Jackie and your team, for how they've produced this. And it's an excellent plan. This work is having a positive impact on residents and communities. And I'd like colleagues to share a brief update on the progress against some of the initiatives, including some of the lived experiences and case studies outlined in the report. Jack.
Thanks, Denise. Yeah, I think it's really welcome we've got this corporate plan now, which sets the objectives that the council's working towards. I mean, in environment and climate, we've been delivering on some of our key pledges and promises, including delivering improvements in play areas in a number of parks. We've planted more than 50,000 trees in the last year. We're hoping to plant a similar number this year as well. We're cutting our carbon emissions significantly with the LED street lighting programme, switching to electric vehicles, and other plans for decarbonisation across the estate, with a lot more really good stuff to come, as we've heard from Darren in his earlier report from the corporate landlord team. This is a cross-council effort, and everyone's working towards improving the local environment and bringing the council's carbon emissions down. So I think this document really helps the council achieve that one council approach rather than individual services doing their own things in isolation. We all know we're working towards some key goals that will improve the lives of local residents. So lots of good things happening.
Thank you, Jack. Darren.
Thank you, Linda. I think it's important to realise that, that Wakefield's economy has grown significantly over recent years. And coming out of COVID, we've been one of the fastest cities to recover from the impact of COVID, putting us in a real strong position. And people forget that. But, we want everybody to share in the benefits and opportunities that our economy and local businesses can offer. And we're going to be saying more about that in the forthcoming months. But it's also worth pointing out that our ambition is that everybody will have a job, and that the job opportunities will be created in our districts that provide a great standard of living, because that's very important to us. But we also want to ensure that we have a great standard of decent, affordable housing across the district, not just in particular towns and villages. And speaking of towns and villages and high streets, it's important that we rejuvenate them all for investment and opportunities, which we have started to do. And all of these things are even more crucial and challenging in the face of the current cost of living crisis, and we just hope that the government gives us some ability to be able to meet more of these through these unprecedented challenges. But we've had some amazing successes over the last 6 months. Our Kickstart scheme, which focuses on helping young people reskill themselves or skill themselves and get themselves into employment. Our Step Up scheme, which we heard about earlier, Councillor Cummings mentioned an individual that she knew about. And in the report on page 29, we tell a story of one of our residents who got an internship and then went on to find a permanent role in our communications team. And we've also made some significant progress towards our programme for improving our city and town centres to provide affordable and specialist housing in these places, which will help regenerate the retail sector. But finally, I would like to thank everybody, and I mean that sincerely, thank everybody who's been involved in delivering all of these initiatives, as well as putting this report together. So thank you for that. Over to you, Matthew.
Thank you, Darren. I think, the mundane world, but very important world of planning, transportation and highways. I don't think none of us can go a week without one of our residents that we represent raising an issue in that portfolio. It's quite truthful. It is so important. It's so important around election time. It's so important every time of the year. But it is important. I am pleased actually as a local authority. The allocation we get from the Department of Transport, we go above that, putting more money into them areas, especially highways. And we've seen in the infrastructure report by 1.5 million additional money has gone into highways improvement over the last 12 months. But also how we redesign our highways and our streets. The 2.5 million pounds we're in Pontefract Street for People scheme will completely transform that area of Pontefract. So it is important. We will keep working with highways, we will keep working in them areas just to try and make the district roads, the transportation system, the planning system as best as possible, but some of them are out of our control. We are not a transport authority that rests with the combined authority, but we will work with the Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Braben, to get buses back under our control. I think that's one of the most important things that we need to do. We are seeing day in, day out from our residents how the bus network is not fit for purpose anymore. And I think the Wakefield district has been worse than anywhere else. I've said it time and time again, I think people probably sick of me saying it now, but it's completely immoral in this day and age that we have villages and communities that are completely cut off and they can't even get into the town and the city centres. So I welcome the report, and there's a lot of challenges there. Thank you.
Obviously, Michael Graham isn't here this morning, but in the report, what he's saying is that to draw attention to some of the fantastic highlights of things that have happened across the district for culture and sport. And I know he would want to say a lot more about it if he was here. Michelle.
So colleagues have already articulated the council is facing an unprecedented time with the emergencies of the national inflation and cost of living crisis in the recent months. We are going to need to continually review the situation to ensure that we manage those finances and resources effectively. There is a range of work being completed to ensure that the council is utilising its people, assets and technology to maximum effect. We've also reviewed, I think a few months ago, we had a cabinet review of the refreshed EDI objectives, recognising and celebrating the diversity of the communities in the district and the strengths and the opportunities that brings.
Margaret.
Yes, so we want our children across the district to have the best start in life and achieve maximum benefits for schooling and their wider lives, have happy and fulfilling childhoods. So we've made great progress against corporate plan initiatives, and thank you to everyone who has been involved in delivering those initiatives. We are proud of our recent Ofsted and the judgment that we are now good, with outstanding leadership and almost unheard of turnaround in 3 years. I'm also proud of our success at the LGC Awards. This is one of the preeminent public sector awards in the country, and after a record number of entries, the council was named winner of the Children's Services category. And I think I thank all staff because it is their win. It is not just the council, it is the win of everybody who works. engaged and enthusiastic workforce supported by their innovative learning academy, the creation of a safe space for social workers to practice, and clear vision of next steps in achieving an outstanding status. Some of the key highlights include our work towards maintaining and being able to evidence good and quality outcomes for children in care, children in need, and children at risk of significant harm. We've been working closely and collaboratively with school senior leaders to reduce the level of permanent exclusions. Inclusion panels are in place to support this. So once again, I thank everyone involved in children's services for what we've achieved. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've learnt a lot over the last couple of years. I mean, the pandemic taught us that we have to work together, and I think that is proven in some of the examples in this report. We are serious about tackling poverty and helping people and helping those that are vulnerable, and we will continue to do that, whether it's through resident recovery or through the partnership. And some of the things that we've done, we contributed funding towards not just the community shop in Nottingham, but we've set up 3 food pantries with a view to setting up more. We have the Warm Spaces Initiative, which is about to be, well, has been launched, but not officially, but lots of people are delivering on that. So we are really serious about helping those that are living or going into poverty, and we know that's going to happen. I just want to touch on the big conversation last night. Many of us in this room attended an event, 1,327 conversations I think we've had since May, which has culminated in lots and lots of information from our residents about how we move forward, not just now but over the next 10 years. And I think the group, and I'm going to say this, it's not in the script, but the group of young people that were there last night, that they should be sat around this table because their vision was absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure that's going to be reflected in the report. But not just that, we supported, sadly, 42, well not sadly, we celebrated the Queen's Jubilee, and there were 42 events across the district celebrating that 70 years. I'm also very proud of the work that we've done to protect women and girls, particularly in the nighttime economy, using the funding that we've received very wisely. And I know that there's a case study within the report that outlines that. Much more I could say. It's a fantastic report, and I also want to recognise and thank those people involved in delivering on all the initiatives across the piece, and long may it continue. It's a living document, and that's how it needs to be.
Thanks for that, Maureen. Yeah, I just to finish off, I just think that when you've all set out all that we're doing as a council in such tough times, and we're delivering so much, and sometimes I don't think we quite get the message out, and that's why we had the big conversation to talk to people. And I think what came across last night, Maureen, at the event was how many people we'd spoken to, the young ambassadors were there. One person said that he was 65 years old and it was the first time anybody had asked his opinion about the council. And it, you know, it was great, really. But I just think that we need to get the message out. What we're doing as a council is truly amazing. We're an exceptional council. We've got exceptional workforce, and I don't think we're bad either. So I think, you know, the report, Jackie, that your team have produced has been tremendous. And as Maureen says, it is a living document, and we shall add to it. But we're determined to deliver this plan for the people of our district. So with that, can we agree to support the direction of travel and that progress has been made against the organisation's strategic priorities, outcomes and initiatives, and the recommendations included in section 2 of the report?
Agree.
Okay, thank you very much. Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. So this report on the appendices, which can be found on pages 533 to 579 of the pages, provides the annual refresh of the Council's risk management framework. The risk appetite statement at Appendix A, the amount and type of risk the Council is willing to seek or accept, sets the risk environment within which risk owners operate, ranging from adverse through to ambitious. As a modern, forward-thinking authority, setting the right risk environment and being risk aware rather than risk averse is important. The report also provides a risk management policy at Appendix B and the risk management framework at Appendix C. Appendix B provides a summary risk management on the page which helpfully brings everything together in an easy read format. The recommendation is on agenda page 533 and it's for Cabinet to approve option 1 for updating the risk management framework, including a risk appetite statement. This will help to ensure that the Council's risk management arrangements are consistent with the latest good practice.
Okay, any comment? Are we all happy to agree then? Thanks very much, Michelle. Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah.